Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we are diving deep into the minds of some incredible social entrepreneurs who are literally reinventing the way business gets done. We're drawing from a fantastic talk at the Stanford Graduate School of Business to explore a whole new, restorative, and honestly, a much more hopeful way to think about the future of commerce. All right, let's get into it. So, Gary Hirshberg, who co-founded Stonyfield Farm, kicks things off with this zinger. And it just perfectly captures the feeling, right? It frames the urgency of the problems we're all facing. You know, the stuff that makes you cynical. And yet, the problems are moving even faster than our cynicism. This really sets the stage for why a new way of doing business isn't just some nice-to-have idea. It's an absolute must. So here's the game plan for today. First, we're going to break down the flawed business model that we've all kind of inherited. Then we'll jump into two amazing case studies, one about reclaiming culture and another that proves being mission-driven is actually profitable. From there, we'll zoom out and talk about redefining capital itself. And we'll wrap up with a challenge, just for you. All right, first up, the old playbook. For generations, we've been running our businesses on a model that, well, we're now seeing has some really serious design flaws. This slide really boils it all down. You've got the old model, which is totally linear. You take resources from the earth, you make stuff, you create capital, and you leave a trail of waste. It's exploitative at its core. But the new model these social entrepreneurs are pushing for, it's completely different. It's circular, it's nurturing. The whole point is to create value that everyone shares and to actually restore the very systems that business relies on. And this quote just nails one of the central, flawed beliefs of that old model. For decades, the thinking was, hey, just dump the waste and it'll, disappear. Diluted in the air, the water, the ground. But as Hirshberg says, that's a total illusion. There is no way. And that single, simple, flawed idea is behind so many of the environmental crises we're dealing with today. Okay, so let's shift gears and see how this new model actually works in the real world. This is our first case study, and it's the story of how Greg Fleischman, another one of the speakers, found himself creating a juice company to solve a problem that was way, way bigger than just a drink. So the story goes like this. It all starts with a young Senegalese woman who goes home and realizes that her culture's traditions, like their national hibiscus drink, have been basically wiped out by Western sodas and juices in just a few years. So what was the plan? A kind of brilliant reverse colonialism. Let's make an authentic African brand so cool and popular in America that people back home would actually want it back. But the crucial part is how they did it. They didn't just buy ingredients. They built real partnerships with women's cooperatives, paid them directly and fairly, and learned that true impact comes from real relationships, not just slapping a fair trade sticker on a package. And here is the truly game-changing part. This whole thing wasn't just about making a product. It was about totally restructuring power. The company they built is majority owned by women, and its largest shareholders are in Africa. I mean, that completely flips the script on who actually profits from global trade. Okay, so we've seen how business can restore culture. But the big question always is, does it make money? For that, let's turn to Stonyfield Farm. They brought the receipts, the hard data that proves a mission-driven company isn't just a nice idea, it's a massive competitive advantage. Just look at these numbers. For over a decade, the yogurt category was growing at a pretty good 7% a year. But Stonyfield, they were growing at 23%. That is more than 3 times the industry average year after year. That's not a fluke. It was a direct result of putting their mission first. So how did they do it? Gary Hirshberg has this brilliant name for it, the First National Bank of Conservation. Instead of looking at things like sustainability and environmentalism as costs, which is what everyone else was doing, they saw them as a source of capital. By focusing on conservation, they unlocked savings and revenue that their competitors didn't even know existed. I mean, check this out. Just by getting aggressive about reducing waste and recycling everything they could, they were saving over $1 million a year. They even started selling their used cardboard boxes to another company, turning their trash into actual cash. That's money that drops straight to the bottom line. And it wasn't just about the money, right? Those exact same business decisions prevented 7,000 tons of CO2 from ever entering the atmosphere. This is that perfect dual return they were always talking about. Great for the company's profits and great for the planet. And this, right here, gets to the absolute heart of their advantage. While their competitors were dumping millions of dollars into flashy TV ads, Stonyfield was building rock-solid customer loyalty for a fraction of the cost. How? By investing in their mission. They created a real relationship with their customers, the kind that traditional advertising can only dream of. That is the holy grail. Okay, so these stories are incredibly powerful. But for this to become the new normal, we have to go even deeper. We have to fundamentally change how we think about the basic building blocks of business itself: capital and ownership. Greg Fleischman says he's still deeply suspicious of capital. And you can see why, right? When the only goal of money is to make more money, it can really poison the mission of a company. So if that's the problem, what's the solution? The solution is to completely blow up our old ideas about what capital even is. It's not just money in the bank. These new kinds of businesses are built on other equally valuable forms of capital. Things like creative capital, the innovative ideas from their people; intellectual capital, the know-how they build up; social capital, the trust they earn with their networks; and community capital, the strength and well-being of the places where they operate. And all this leads to a new ownership structure they call mutualism. And the analogy here is just perfect. Think about a giant redwood tree. It doesn't just suck nutrients from the ground. It actually pulls moisture from the fog in the air and distributes it back into the soil, creating its own little ecosystem where everything thrives. That's the goal for these businesses: to link the consumer, the producer, and the supplier so that the entire system benefits and can sustain itself. So we've looked at the problem, we've seen the solutions in action, and now for this final part, we're going to turn the camera around and focus on you. What's our role in all this? How do we help invent this future? During the discussion, Greg told a story about asking a former Boeing executive this exact question. And this was a guy who managed the unbelievably complex 777 project, coordinating teams across 20 different countries. So, what do you think he said? What is the number one job of a leader? His answer wasn't maximize shareholder value or enforce strict deadlines. It was something so simple and so profoundly human. The number one job of a leader is to show appreciation. That's it. That's how you get tens of thousands of people to build something our lives literally depend on. It's a total shift in what we think leadership is all about. And this is such a powerful idea for anyone heading into the business world today. Believe it or not, big old school corporations are desperate for this new way of thinking. They know the world is changing, but they don't know how to change with it. As the speakers said, if you get these principles, you are basically an ambassador from the future, a future they desperately need to get to. And that's where we'll leave it, because this isn't just a fun thought exercise. The world's biggest challenges, climate change, inequality, you name it, they are business problems, and they demand business solutions. The world is looking for a new generation of leaders to build them. So the final question is really for you. How are you going to make your vision a reality?